The clip that started all of this is shaky, low light, and mercilessly honest. A glass facade glows like a lighthouse over the city. Camera phones bob above tuxedos and white dresses. A woman in a gold gown steps out of a rideshare, pausing at the curb as if listening for her cue. She is black, mid to late 30s, hair swept into an elegant twist, shoulders squared under satin. You can hear laughter, not unkind at first, just surprised. Someone says, half whisper and half sneer, "Is that the cleaning lady?" According to witnesses on the sidewalk, security at the museum-turned-gala venue reached for their earpieces, stretching the red velvet rope taut. The only sound under the clatter of high heels is the click of her clutch opening. She produces a printed invitation, thick stock paper embossed with chrome lettering. The camera zooms, the crowd leans, and a name is visible under the flare of the streetlight: Ms. Aaliyah Brooks. The security guard in frame checks his tablet. His mouth opens, then closes. He nods once, removes the rope, and gestures inside. Off camera, someone says, "Yeah, no way. They actually put her on the list?" Our editorial voice begins right there, in medias res, because the middle of an event has a way of telling you what the beginning never admits. Like and subscribe for more stories that challenge prejudice and celebrate courage. That night was billed as the White Linen and Chrome Gala, a fundraiser for the Keaton Foundation, the philanthropic arm of Keaton Labs. The emails, invitations, and sponsorship decks wrapped it in language about innovation, equity, and urban renewal. The man behind the event, Grant Keaton, age 47, real estate investor turned tech funder, built a career on glossy panels and city plans. He is filmed often in jackets that never wrinkle and phrases that never wobble. "We build the future with integrity," he said, at a ribbon cutting 2 summers ago. We found that in a public video. We also found something else. Based on internal documents and messages provided by 3 separate employees of Keaton Labs, what happened to Aaliyah Brooks that night was not an accident of hospitality, nor an honest clerical error. It was, in the words of a text message sent by the Foundation's event director to a group chat 3 days before the gala. "Wait till you see our VIP surprise, LOL. We're going to tell you what happened the week of the gala. We will stay grounded in what people said and did, because the truth here is not in secret feelings but in the recorded behavior of adults who have jobs, influence, and phones. We will never guess what someone thought when we can show what they wrote." The break room on the 9th floor of Keaton Labs, according to staff interviews, smells like coffee and lemon cleaner at midnight. They say the janitorial shift arrives through the side entrance. On Monday before the gala, just after 1:30 a.m., a courier placed a small stack of thick envelopes near the coffee maker, mistakenly delivered with the next day's corporate mail. One of those envelopes carried a chrome return address, Keaton Foundation. Whoever left it there didn't open it. This detail matters only because of what happened at 3:07 a.m., captured by a stationary security camera above the vending machine. We have that footage. A woman in navy scrubs, hair tied back in a scarf, walks into frame. She sets down a caddy of spray bottles, reaches for a glass, and pours water. And then, when the courier envelope catches light, she checks the name. She doesn't open it immediately. She tucks it into her tote, washes her hands at the sink, then sits on a metal chair to read. The envelope was properly addressed. According to the screenshot taken later that morning by the janitorial supervisor, the wording was standard but specific. "Ms. Aaliyah Brooks, you are cordially invited to the Keaton Foundation's White Linen and Chrome Gala, RSVP by Thursday." There was a QR code, a unique RSVP link, and a small line at the bottom. Guests may include 1 companion. Aaliyah's response to the supervisor, spoken at 4:21 a.m., and recorded on the break room's ambient microphone, was simple. "Is this for real, Mr. Chen?" He read it twice and replied, It looks real." We asked Mr. Chen to sit down with us the following week. He is a quiet man, with careful hands, who counts steps when he climbs through stairs. "No one sends a joke on plate card stock," he said. "I told her to ask upstairs. She laughed in a way that meant she didn't think it was funny." We asked if he felt she was being set up. He said he didn't know, but he remembered a conversation from months earlier when a junior analyst asked him if the cleaning staff ever wears evening wear. He said he thought it was a clumsy joke, the kind people make when they believe certain kinds of work lives inside a uniform and never leaves it. It matters, then, how the invitation got into Aaliyah's hands. According to the event's guest list spreadsheet, the column marked Add Always included board members, donors, and community partners. It also included a single non-standard entry, Aaliyah Brooks, Facilities, Night. The spreadsheet shows it was added at 11:14 p.m., the Friday before the gala, by an account registered to the Foundation's event director, Lila Connor. In internal Slack messages from that evening, which we have, Lila writes to a private channel, "Ran into her in the hallway. She's got that little cart and earbuds, and she never looks up. Would be iconic if she showed." A colleague replies with a laughing emoji. Another writes, "Stop, Pep, you're bad." Lila replies, "Kidding, calm down." An hour later, the spreadsheet logs the addition of Aaliyah's name. We asked Lila to comment. She did not agree to an on-camera interview, but sent a statement through the Foundation's public relations firm. The invitation was a clerical mix-up under tight deadlines. There was never intent to embarrass or demean. We showed that statement to two staffers who asked to remain unnamed to protect their jobs. One said, "Look, people say wild stuff in private, but that list wasn't an accident, it was a wink." The other said, "No one thought she would come." Aaliyah's own record of that week exists in text messages to two people. Her cousin Patrice, who owns a salon on Delancey, and a neighbor named Theo, who sometimes fixes washers in her building. We have permission to quote them. Tuesday, 9:47 a.m. Got an invite with my name. Thought it was a wrong delivery, but it scans. It says guests can bring someone. Is this stupid? I would just go to say thank you in person and leave. Patrice at 9:53 a.m. If they wrote it, they can see you. I have a dress. Don't roll your eyes. You look 10 feet tall when you stand up straight. Let me do your hair and ask for the night off. Maybe it's not a trap. And if it is a trap, there will be cameras. The only way through some mess is in heels. Theo at 11:12 a.m. Girl, I will drive you in my cousin's Altima. I will iron that tuck stripe on my church pants and pose as your security. Aaliyah replies with a laughing emoji and, I think I will go, not to be funny. To return the paper to the suit that sent it, the turn to elegance did not happen in a basement makeover montage filled with music. It happened on a slow Wednesday afternoon in Patrice's salon, neon sign flickering, box fan ticking. Aaliyah arrived in her work jacket, carrying nothing but the envelope and a tote bag with a change of shoes. Patrice placed a garment bag on a hook. "Before you say no," she said, "my neighbor's niece did a fashion program and she left this dress when she moved. She never picked it up. It's gold but not brassy. It closes in the back. Don't make the face." Aaliyah made the face. They laughed. We spoke to an assistant who was there that day, a young man named Dom, who sweeps hair with ballet dancer precision. He remembers how the dress slid over Aaliyah's shoulders and hung wrong at first. It needed shape. Patrice pinned it, and you could see her, Ms. Aaliyah, stand different, as if someone said she could be exact. Patrice called in a favor to a seamstress 2 doors down, and by evening, the dress had a new seam and a whisper of structure at the waist. Aaliyah paid for none of it that day. Patrice called it community credit, and Aaliyah later paid it down from Saturday overtime. We asked Aaliyah why she decided to go. She didn't want to sit for a televised interview. She agreed to speak with the mic off. She consented to us quoting her words on the condition we did not pretend we were there when we weren't. "I wanted to return the invitation to a face, not a mailbox," she said. "I didn't want to be someone people talk about like I was a ghost in my uniform. I wanted to be a person who could say thank you or no thank you to someone's eyes." Thursday night, the night of the gala, the museum along the river didn't look like a public building. It looked like a magazine spread, uplit steps, chrome sculptures, ambient house music like a heartbeat you can't locate. The security team moved like dancers with radios. Guests arrived in white linen jackets, satin jumpsuits, and the kind of crisp that costs money. We checked security logs. A rideshare pulled up at 7:42 p.m. Aaliyah stepped out holding a small clutch. Patrice had pinned her hair high and swept. Theo wasn't able to drive. His cousin's Altima had a battery issue. He texted, "I'm in spirit, stand tall." According to the valet at Station 2, a young man named Dean, who asked that we use his first name only, a guest asked him, "Is she with service?" Dean said he didn't answer because his mother taught him that if you have to ask that question, you probably shouldn't ask out loud. Another guest, a board member's wife, caught in someone's Instagram story, whispered, "This is unusual. We do not imply she is a villain. We show you the whisper because it exists on a video with 7,000 views." The initial confrontation at the door lasted 93 seconds. That counts because small humiliations compound when they linger. Security Chief Marco Alvarez, a former patrolman with a shaved head and cautious smile, told us he followed procedure. "Her name was on the list. I do not argue with lists. I called inside to verify. They told me to let her in and be discreet. I told my team, be professional, no staring." We asked if anyone inside seemed surprised. He laughed softly. People are always surprised when the script changes. Aaliyah walked in. A photographer, at the step and repeat, asked her name twice. She repeated it, spelling it out, and moved past the wall of logos into a room the color of champagne. Servers carried trays of something in martini glasses with steel spoons. A quartet on a platform played an arrangement of a pop song, converting it into wealth. A woman in a white blazer, later identified to us as the Foundation's comms manager, approached Aaliyah with a smile calibrated for crisis. "Welcome. I'm honored you're here. You look gorgeous." She used the woman's first name the way people do when they want ownership of an introduction. Aaliyah said thank you and asked, "Is the person who sent this here tonight?" The comms manager blinked. "That would be our event director, Lila." "I'd like to say hello," Aaliyah replied. "Of course," said the comms manager. "This way." Lila Connor spotted them from across the room and kept her intake of breath mostly private. 3 witnesses told us she blushed, turned her head slightly, and then brought her chin down like a shutter. She walked with a smile that files down the edges of all awkwardness. "Aaliyah," she said, as if greeting a donor. "You look—" She paused. Our source in her internal communications could not tell us if the pause was for effect or for panic, and we won't pretend to know. Lila's next word was recorded by a videographer hired for the event, whose B-roll later included their exchange. "Stunning." Aaliyah held up the invitation. "This is yours?" Lila nodded. "From the Foundation." "Then thank you for including me. I wanted to put your paper back in your hand." Lila smiled wider. "Stay as long as you like. The Foundation is for everyone in our community." She turned and excused herself a second later, citing a small lighting emergency. It did not feel like "for everyone" to most of the people who saw the next moments. A donor's assistant overheard 2 interns near the silent auction table. One said, "She actually came." The other said, "Wait till group chat sees this." Their message went out at 8:02 p.m., with a photograph attached, Aaliyah's profile against a chrome sculpture. In the Donor and Darlings at Slack channel, Lila typed, "Y'all, she's here. She said thank you to my face. I am both terrified and obsessed." And a subordinate replied, "Behave." Someone else added, "Be nice. There are phones." Lila responded with a champagne emoji. These are screenshots, not imagined words. The silent auction included a lot labeled Operational Excellence Facilities Management Consulting. It promised to optimize and streamline service workflows for underserved social enterprises. This would become relevant at 9:20 p.m. when a junior developer named Neymar approached Aaliyah near the sculpture. "We interviewed him in a park 2 days later. I recognized her," he said, "because she cleans our floor sometimes. I never knew her name before. That's my mistake, not hers. She helped me tie my bow tie once in the lobby when my hands were shaking. I told her right there she saved me from looking like a fool." He laughed. I asked her if she was having a good time. She said, "This punch is too sweet, but I am fine." So we stood and watched fancy people be fancy. At 8:30 p.m., the program began. We have the program script. It includes remarks by a city council member, a video about microloans, and a brief Q&A with community partners. The host, a local TV anchor, called up 2 people not listed in the printed program, a scholarship recipient and a representative of our facilities team. The anchor looked toward the back of the room expecting a man in a blazer. Lila whispered in her ear. The anchor blinked and said into the mic, "Aaliyah, would you join us? Just a quick hello?" We asked the anchor why she did that. She said, "Yeah, the director told me she wanted to spotlight a beloved member of the Keaton Labs family." I believed her. It seemed human. Aaliyah did not want to go up. Neymar said she hesitated, and then she said softly, "If you invite somebody to a room, you can let them speak like a person." She walked to the stage at 8:34 p.m., in a gold dress, the room very white around her, and stood in front of a 1,000-watt smile on an LED screen that spelled out the Foundation's mission. She wasn't a speech maker. She was a person who cleans floors and reads manuals because she likes to do her job correctly. Her first words into the mic were, "Good evening, my name is Aaliyah Brooks. Thank you for writing my name on a paper." There was a laugh, the kind people deploy to cover breath they didn't know they were holding. She held the mic well below her mouth, so the sound was quiet but clear. "I came to give this back," she said, holding up the invitation. "It's thick. You don't throw something like this away." The anchor reached out as if to take it. Aaliyah kept it for a moment longer, then let it go. "You clean our building?" the anchor asked. "Yes, ma'am. Nights. We listen to jazz on the little speaker and put the chairs back under the tables. Sometimes I see the posters about equity. They're pretty. She smiled toward the back, maybe at Neymar, maybe at no one in particular, as if to steady herself. I won't take your night. I just wanted to say thank you for including my name. If it was by mistake, we can still be polite with one another. The sign on your lobby wall says there is zero tolerance for harassment, including jokes at the expense of employees. We read that sign when we clock in. She quoted the sign exactly. Mr. Chen had taken a picture of it months ago and shared it when a new hire laughed at his accent. Aaliyah had that text on her phone. She had read it out loud to her team one night after someone from a different department called them invisible. So when she said it, zero tolerance, she didn't have to look at notes. She looked at the crowd instead, not challenging, just not looking down. I would like to ask that if this invitation was meant as a joke, that we don't do those kinds of jokes anymore. I can take care of myself. But some people can't afford to be laughed at by the people who sign their checks. She paused. The anchor's smile dimmed to something sincere. Thank you, Aaliyah said. That's all. The room did not cheer. It did not boo. It made a sound like a church does when a real thing is said in a crowd that knows truth, even when it pretends it doesn't, belong to everyone. The anchor thanked her. Lila clapped quickly, too quickly. Grant Keaton, standing near the stage steps, moved toward her. He extended a hand and said something we cannot fully hear on any recording because the band struck a chord at the wrong moment. Neymar, standing close enough to see the angle of shoulders, said, "He looked like a man trying to catch a plate before it hits the floor, but also trying to smile." We won't invent words. Here's what is audible when the chord fades. Speak with you, this, never, our intent. Aaliyah nodded once. We can speak now, she said, not into the mic. He gestured to the side of the stage. She looked at the crowd, then back at him. Out here is fine. People think of courage as loud, theatrical, but the footage from 3 different phones shows something smaller and more precise. A woman insisting that a conversation about her dignity happened where her dignity had been up for discussion in the first place. Keaton placed his hand over his chest in that gesture men with media training learn. We have great respect for you and your colleagues, he said. We honor our team, she replied. Then it will be easy to say it. He took the mic. Friends, he said, we are honored tonight to be joined by someone who keeps our spaces beautiful. We're grateful she's here. If there was... He paused. Cameras captured him looking toward Lila. Any misunderstanding, we apologize. We'll speak with our team and ensure our process reflects our values. He handed the mic back to the anchor with a bright, controlled smile. It could have ended there. It didn't. 2 things happened within the next half hour. First, someone leaked the screenshot of the VIP surprise LOL text message to a local blogger who posted it with a caption. They invited her as a joke, and she inverted the joke. Second, a server named Anya, who had worked the Foundation's events before, approached Aaliyah near the restroom hallway. Ms. Brooks? She asked. I just wanted to say, I've seen how some of them talk about service staff. You handled yourself. This is not your job to fix, but you did something right. She pressed something small into Aaliyah's hand. It was a folded napkin with numbers written in it. The HR director's cell, a labor lawyer's number that another server had used when a different employer stole her tips, and a contact at the city's Office of Labor Standards. At 9:12 p.m., a Keaton Labs intern posted a TikTok of the moment Aaliyah named the zero tolerance sign. The caption read, Her, quotes the policy better than any of us. Them, suddenly quiet. That clip hit 90,000 views in an hour. At 9:30 p.m., we received an email from a Keaton employee we had been cultivating as a source for months on unrelated real estate filings. Subject line, Do you want receipts? In the body, the employee attached PDFs of internal Slack threads, the guest list column, change logs, and a draft of a damage control statement that included the phrase, We joke within family. The employee added, I am so tired. We responded with our number. The employee messaged us, She could have been me if I didn't get paid well. The night, meanwhile, did not stop out of respect for discomfort. The band covered a classic rock anthem as if nothing had happened. People lined up for a dessert that looks like the moon and pops when you eat it. A photographer asked Aaliyah for a pose shot. She declined, saying, I'm just going to finish my punch. Neymar asked if she wanted water. She said yes. When he returned, with a glass that sweated small rings onto the table, he heard a woman behind them say, She's brave. The woman's companion said, She took the oxygen out of the room. The woman replied, Maybe we needed less oxygen. Around 9:45 p.m., Lila found Aaliyah near the chrome sculpture again. We have a snatch of their exchange because a camera operator filming B-roll had left his recorder running to capture ambient sound. Lila, I hope you're having an okay time. Aaliyah, I am okay. Lila, I want you to know that we... She stopped, shifted her tone. What would make this right for you? Aaliyah, to not be used for a laugh, and to not hear about other people getting used for one either. But Lila, we take jokes seriously. Aaliyah, after a beat, then you are very funny. Lila laughed, but it was an exhale, not a laugh. Keaton's crisis team huddled behind the stage wall at 10:02 p.m. We know this because the venue's event coordinator told us she was asked for an extra mic and a stool. They wanted to do a moment, she said, like we are all learning together. The moment didn't happen. Instead, the foundation posted a photo of Aaliyah on its Instagram with the caption, "Tonight, we honor all who make our community shine." The comments were not kind. Several included the screenshot of Lila's LOL message. The post came down in 11 minutes. At 10:30 p.m., on the South Terrace, a younger board member approached Aaliyah with a glass of seltzer and asked her, "What do you do when they go low? I have a little sister. She asked me that once." Aaliyah said, "I go home and sleep, then I come back to work." She looked at the river lights and added, "It would help if I could tell my team on Monday that somebody said sorry." The board member nodded to himself, like a man putting a note in the inside pocket where he keeps things he will not forget. He reached out a card. "I don't know if I can fix everything. I can ask better questions." Aaliyah took the card and put it in her clutch behind the napkin with the numbers. What happened after is both predictable and might still surprise you. The next morning, our emails to the Foundation's comms team triggered a conference call we were blind copied on by a sympathetic staffer. We listened to people use words like optics and narrative. Someone said, we cannot let her become the face of this. A junior voice on that call said, "Why not? She seems like a better face than a white guy in a tux." The line went silent for a beat. Then someone said, "Who is on her shift? We need to visit the facilities team." At 11:10 a.m., the Foundation's Instagram posted a photo of a broom leaning against a wall with a handwritten thank you note for our facilities heroes. The algorithm was unkind. The comments read like a cross-examination. Why not thank Aaliyah by name? Who sent LOL? Pay your staff more. By lunchtime, at least 3 major donors had emailed the Foundation, asking for an explanation. One wrote, "I cannot support a culture that invites someone as a punchline." And another wrote, "Either this was a mistake or it was a cartoon villain move. Which is it?" Meanwhile, Aaliyah went to work that night because the building does not clean itself. Mr. Chen, with care in his voice that his words could barely carry, told us he tried to send her home. She said, "We have floors." Around 1:00 a.m., 2 interns on the 14th floor clapped when she walked by. She smiled and told them, "Shh, people are sleeping." On camera, without her knowing, a product manager we interviewed later put a cool bottle of water by her cart and taped a note to it. "Thank you, Miss Brooks. Respect." She continued to wipe the fingerprints from the glass doors in quiet circles. We requested pay records from the facilities contractor, an outside company since Keaton Labs had outsourced janitorial services. The records, provided anonymously by a payroll clerk, showed that in the last quarter, wages were docked for uniform damage fees and clock-in tardy rounding that, according to state labor law, are questionable at best. We showed those to a labor attorney, whose name we'll keep off camera at his request. He said, if those deductions weren't disclosed properly, and if rounding always favors the employer, then we might be looking at wage theft. We are careful with that term. It has legal weight. We do not use it casually. We use it here with a red underline in our notes and a caution in our voice. We asked Aaliyah if she had missed pay. "Sometimes the check is light," she told us later, her words aloud but her name protected in the first round of this reporting. "They say it all adds up and settle later." She shrugged. "I keep a paper of my hours." She pulled out a folded sheet from her tote and narrowed her eyes as she compared it to the email stub she keeps. "It does not add up the same." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The math did it. Later that week, under pressure from donors, the Foundation released a formal apology to Aaliyah by name. It said, "We regret that our actions at the White Linen and Chrome Gala caused harm. We invited Ms. Brooks to our event and failed to honor her as the valued member of our community that she is. We are reviewing internal communications and making changes to our processes, including training on equity and respect. We asked if anyone was disciplined. They did not answer. Lila's LinkedIn, however, quietly changed to freelance consultant the following Monday. We asked where she consulted. She didn't respond. Our sources said she'd been asked to seek opportunities elsewhere. We didn't take a victory lap. People lose jobs every day for less, but accountability has to land somewhere if it is going to mean anything at all. We also asked about the wage rounding. Keaton Labs referred us to the contractor who told us, "We comply with all labor laws and are auditing our practices." The audit resulted, 2 months later, in back pay for 61 employees, including Aaliyah. The email announcing it used bland language about clerical adjustments. Aaliyah's deposit was $1,026. Mr. Chen's was $809.87. Anya, the server, texted Aaliyah a confetti emoji the day the deposits hit. Aaliyah replied, "That's rent." What surprised even the veteran observers was what happened next. A member of the foundation's board, the same younger man who offered his card on the terrace, pushed for a policy that all events open seats at every table to facilities, security, and food service teams. If you say community, he argued in the board minutes we obtained, then invite the community, especially the people who make your spaces possible. The amendment passed by a narrow margin. The next gala had 3 tables labeled simply House. Aaliyah didn't attend. She said she'd had enough glamour for a while. But she smiled when someone sent her a photo of those 3 round tables with name cards that read Marisol, Night, Darius, Elevators, Brenda, Kitchen. She said, "I hope the punch wasn't so sweet." We know Aaliyah's story should not have to be this kind of story to matter. A woman in a gold dress should be allowed to be just that. A woman in a gold dress, without carrying anyone's moral education on her shoulders. But that night, she did something in the way she adjusted a microphone and declined an exit to a back room. She inverted a joke, she returned an invitation like evidence on the table, and refused to be treated as a symbol without substance. This isn't a fairy tale. It is a record of receipts, text messages, security logs, pay stubs, and words in rooms that people hoped would not leave the room. We offer it not to turn Aaliyah into a saint, but to show what the truth looks like when it wears heels to a place that expected to hold its joke at a distance. Aaliyah didn't explode the doors of anything. She stood in a doorframe and asked to be welcomed in good faith or left in peace. She did not shout. She did not curse. She spoke from a piece of policy on a lobby wall. On our last day of reporting, we met Aaliyah outside the building as the sun came up, where the concrete smells not like lemon cleaner yet, but dew and metal. A delivery truck beeped. A bus sighed, low to the curb. She held her tote, the dress long since returned to Patrice's garment bag, her hair in its practical scarf. She did not ask us for favors or airtime. "I told my niece," she said, "if they send you a paper with your name on it, your name is allowed to be said out loud in that room. If they meant it like a joke, you can still be serious. That's all I did." She nodded toward the doors. "I have floors, and then I have coffee with Patrice. She thinks I'm famous. I think I'm on the clock." She smiled, then went inside. We end where we began, with a clip. Not the shaky clip of her stepping into light, but a quieter one sent by Neymar later that week. It shows a lobby at night, chairs pushed under tables, a sign on the wall that says in bold letters, "Zero tolerance for harassment." He pans past it, deliberately, then points the camera at a glass door just as a small shadow moves across it, the reflection of someone placing a bottle of water by a cart. In the reflection, you can see someone else straighten their shoulders as if remembering they own their name. The narrator in that clip is not a voice. It is a small act. Aaliyah texts back a single line when we send it to her. That sign got a lot of people's mouths quiet. We offer ours now, with a last thought that we hope will not be quieted by the next news cycle. Dignity isn't a favor from a foundation. It belongs to the person, no matter what name tag is on their shirt, or if they wear a gown one night and scrubs the next. Like and subscribe for more stories that challenge prejudice and celebrate courage.